Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible. So, what if one subtle shift could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we're helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. This is called Sacred Spaces, Subtle Shifts for Mind, Body, and Home Transformation. And you guys, this is volume 3. The other 2 are sitting behind me on the shelf back there. Volume 3 from lead author Colleen Avis. So I'm going to introduce all of these authors to you today in just a minute, but I have a huge shout out to Colleen first. Colleen, we wouldn't be here without you. Your vision was ginormous, and I'm so grateful to you for that big mission and vision, and just so honored to be on this journey with you. You have gathered around you a group of stellar expert co-authors and some of who we're going to meet today. I can't wait, you guys. Let me share with you who is in my Zoom room. So Jessica Thurston Fennessy is the founder of the Farmology Stand, a roadside farm stand that gives away free organic food to her local community, and is also a hub where she runs her summer nature program for kids called Wild Essence, and is opening up her space to host holistic style retreats while hosting her brand new Airbnb. Ooh, that's exciting. Carrie Dale is here. She's the owner and CEO of Thrive Mindset and manifestation coach who helps people turn their dreams into reality. Jake Bushman is also with us. He's the creator and host of Journey with Jake, a podcast where adventure meets inspiration, and a 20-year veteran of the live events industry with a passion for connecting people through stories. Yay, you guys, welcome. I can't wait to talk about this 4 category, #1 best-selling, amazing book. Congratulations to all of you for that accomplishment this week. Jessica, you're going to start the party off today. Take a minute to introduce your chapter and give us a little bit of the why behind it.
Okay, well, thank you, Laura, for having me here today, first of all. My story is chapter 16, Grow Through What You Go Through, and it's an empowering journey of self-transformation. And that is it. I wanted to write that because I felt like I told that story because honestly, I felt like I had to. It starts off with a little bit of, I'm sorry,
Yes, go through what you grow through, right? Or grow through what you go through. Yes. Yeah. What did you have to go through?
And well, it starts off in the dark, and I just felt like I had to write a story because unfortunately, like 1 in 4 women, I was a victim of domestic abuse, and I kept that silent for a really long time. And I felt like being able to have the opportunity to finally share my story on a topic that's so big, unfortunately, with many, I just wanted to use the sacred space to empower others and let others know that they're not alone. I've been there, but I wanted to show them where I am now through what can happen with the power of your mind and power of prayer and just all of that.
It's important to help others feel not alone, especially about this topic. But girl, it takes some courage to do that. Like, not everybody gets over the hump of that fear to being out loud about it. What was that point for you where you just decided, nah, it's time to help other people?
Well, honestly, it took me a long time without telling anybody anything. And then one day, Colleen, my actual sister-in-law, invited me to share the space. She heard my story, and I said, okay, I'm just going to bleed throughout the pages. Needed to be vulnerable in order to show people that, I wanted to be a place where there's no judgment and being a safe space where you can that I could just hold people in the space of I've been there before and and
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a
tough to
special.
talk about.
Yes, it is. Y'all are so brave for the vulnerable stories you put in this book. I mean, that's a challenge I gave to all of you, all of the co-authors, every single lead author that comes into my world. I mean, welcome to Brave Healer Productions, okay? Because it's the vulnerability that is our strength. That is what it means to me to be brave, is to step up inside of that vulnerability and share. And there is no doubt there's somebody that's going to read that chapter and be helped by it. It was your chapter that they needed to read, and you all did that so brilliantly. So thank you for what you did in your chapters, and Jessica for being brave enough to write about that topic. Thanks for saying yes to this project as well.
Thank you.
Carrie, share us with us a little bit about your chapter. Give us the why behind yours.
Sure. So I wrote chapter 22, Beautiful Transformation, Reframe the In-Between to Manifest Your Dreams. And I, as you know, I believe with all of my heart that everyone can manifest the life they want. They just need to know how. But oftentimes we get stuck, right? We get stuck in these moments that are really hard. And we feel like the world is just coming at us. And a lot of times people will go, well, Carrie, everything's going great. Everything's going so great in your life. And it doesn't always go great. There are things that aren't good. All of us have things that are really hard moments. And so sharing that and sharing how I can change that and how you can change it was important to me.
So I need more about the in between. What are you talking about?
Well, there's times in life, right? There's transitions. There's times where we have these moments, which I call the in between. For me, in this chapter, it's a relationship that's not really good right now and not horrible, but it's not good. And I like to call that the in between because it's going to change. It's going to shift. You just have to point it in the right direction.
Is it fair to say to ourselves, this could be so much better? I don't want to live with it's okay right now. Like, or do you believe that attachment to expectation is what gets us in trouble?
Oh, I think it's okay to have a belief about where you want to go. I think you just can't attach yourself to the path to get there. I think that we put it out there. We put out what we want and we set our intention for where we're heading, but we need to be open to what the universe is going to do and how it's going to bring us.
Yeah, the magical how. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, who is my guy who writes this? Mike Dooley. You ever get notes from the universe? You guys, anyone hear of that? And
Yes.
he's like, you can't attach to the how. You can dream the dream, vision the vision, and then you're like, you got to let go and let the universe bring it to you, however they do, right?
Yeah, and just believe, right? Believe you're going to get there and
Yes,
enjoy the ride.
yes, exactly. The energy is the manifestation power. Carrie, thank you for saying yes to this project and for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, Jake, give us a minute on your chapter. What's your why?
Sure. So my chapter is chapter 8, The Power of Podcasting, Finding Your Voice in Uncertain Times. And for me, the uncertain time happened to be COVID, really. COVID came about. I was, as you mentioned in my bio, I'm in the live events industry. And so all of a sudden, there's no more live events. And so that kind of really took a big shift for me. And it was something I was used to. It's what I did. So the reason I wrote this chapter is because I wanted to talk about that, hey, we all have things that we go through. I didn't think I had a story when I started this out. I felt like I don't have anything to share. Everyone kind of went through this. We all had our issues, and I didn't feel I had a story to share. And Colleen said, no, you got a story. You have a story to share. And that's kind of the reason why I did it. And it's kind of this whole idea behind kind of having to pivot and go a different way. And through that, I found podcasting, and I have my own podcast now that I absolutely love, and it brings me so much joy. And that was the whole idea behind it.
I love the pivot stories, man. Like they just excite me. I am one of them also. I think a lot of people moved through some of that, and finding your voice through podcasting, like whether you're a host or a guest, is quite a thing. We were talking a few minutes ago to Jessica, who was a little nervous about being on the podcast, and it's like, it's a big deal, right? What do you want to tell people about that, Jake?
I think everybody has a story, which is so true. I think the thing I love as being a host is getting to hear these stories from others. And it's done so much for me. Sometimes I have these people that are telling me these stories and I didn't know who they were beforehand. And now I'm like, wow, this person enlightened me and helped motivate me. Hearing Jessica talk about her story, it's helped me right now. Hearing Carrie talk about hers, hearing from everybody, it just does so much for me personally. So that's why it's such a huge impact for me, is listening, hearing what others are doing, what they're going through means so much to me, and it helps uplift me.
You're making me think of something interesting. I spent about 30 years as a holistic physical therapist, and I was serving clients with all the things, helping them feel better. But I would always talk to my fellow healers, and the conversation would go something like, hey, what most people don't understand is there is a very reciprocal energy coming back to me. And there's a little piece of this that's selfish because and it's not, right? But when I get filled up, I can give more. And I would get energy from hearing my clients' stories, from interacting with them, all of those things. And what a beautiful gift that is, right?
Oh, it's a huge gift. I almost feel guilty a little bit because I feel like I'm getting so much out of this more than anybody. I feel like it's a thing I'm doing for me in a lot of ways, and it is in a lot of ways. And so I kind of feel a little bit guilty, like, hey, this is just kind of a selfish thing for Jake and what I'm doing. But I love it. It is a reciprocal thing for sure.
I actually think that when you are doing something like that, it's why it's successful. Let's drop all guilt about this, y'all. If you are in your passion like that, selfishly for you, and it fills you up that much, guess what? You get to be a gift for every single other life you touch because you're doing that, right? So no guilt. Guilt goes away today. I love it. What's that Howard Thurman quote? What the world needs is people who have come alive, right? Yeah.
Good
And
point.
so you are alive in that. I love it. Thank you, Jake, for saying yes to this project.
Absolutely.
Even though you didn't think you had a story. I love it. Everybody has a story. So just thanks again to all three of you. These chapters are gifts to our listeners. They're stepping up with their vulnerable story. They're letting you get to know them a little bit. But then I asked them to come up into the second part of their chapter and teach you a practical tool, let you have an experience with their magical master teachings. They were so generous about that. Just get ready to have this toolkit in your fingertips and all of these different voices and all of these different kinds of practices. They're brilliant. So thank you all for doing that so well, and giving our readers those experiences is going to be life-changing. It's big potato stuff to me. All right. So having said that, sometimes this journey can be totally overwhelming. And we're sitting there and we're like, I don't even know where to start. I don't see it, right? Carrie, give our listeners a tip about this, a subtle shift, a small step. Where would you start them if they're in the middle of that overwhelm?
Reframing. Reframe the situation. I wrote about very like personal and traumatic moment in my life, and something that somebody said to me that just was a total gut punch, and still to this day is. But I could sit in that, right? I could sit and dwell in it and be miserable in it, or I can change how I look at it.
What's your shift of changing how you look at it? Like if you were going to get me to do something in that moment, what do you actually do in your body?
Mm. What do I do in my body? Oh, that is such a hard thing. It really depends on the moment. For this situation specifically, I think that I had to acknowledge it. I had to feel it and know that that was okay. But then I had to put some intention in where I want to be and where I'm going and recognize that I can control what I can control. And if I don't want to sit in that space, I need to change that direction and change my outlook on where I'm headed.
Thank you for trying to answer that question. I know
It's
that
hard.
was yes, it is because it's a thought and body awareness process. And I love hearing y'all talk about these things because it helps the listeners understand, well, she just wants me to reframe everything. Well, what do you mean? Like, are you doing that? Right. And you all are masters because you've devoted your lives to understanding this and practicing and trying new things. And for me, body awareness, and you said it, Carrie, it's like, well, I got to feel it first. That's what, yeah, number one. Perfect. Amazing. Jake, how about you? Someone's in overwhelm. Where do you start them?
Yeah, that's a tough one because when you're in that moment, it's hard to think that you can get out of it. And that's a question I like to ask a lot of my guests a lot of times when they're in the middle of the struggle. How do they get over that? Because it is a tough thing. So for me, it's okay to hurt. It's okay to cry a little bit, pray a little bit. I think it's okay to dwell in that a little bit. But the other thing I would say is reach out for help. There's nothing wrong with reaching out for help. I've had a brother who is a huge help for me. I've had other people in my life, friends, that sometimes I just reach out. I'm just send them a text like, "Hey, do you mind if we chat for a little bit?" So I would say just be okay with reaching out for help. Sometimes it's tough. I don't know. I think sometimes our egos get in the way. Like, I don't need to, I don't want to be a burden on somebody or something like that. But you need help. You need help. And it's okay. Sometimes you need to just talk to somebody.
Yep. That's a survival skill, learning how to reach out for help, even when you think you're being annoying for, burden, whatever. That's a big deal. Thank you for that one.
Yep.
Jessica, for you, someone's kind of a little bit in the overwhelm. What's like one step you might suggest for them?
My tools are a lot like what Carrie and Jake are saying. It is to change, if you can just look at yourself and look at the dialogue that you've been kind of talking to yourself, if you can gain that awareness of what type of thoughts, what type of feelings have you been honestly looking at within yourself. You have to be able to look into the mirror and see the hard things that don't feel good, like Jake's saying, you have to sit there, you have to feel it. But then it's all about the matter of your mind. If you can have some prayer mixed with some positive, productive thinking and start to tell your story, realizing that you can change the script at any time of your story. If you don't like the way that your life is going, well, now's a good time to why don't we sit down and talk about how would you like your life to look? Envisioning what does this version of myself look like that they're living out in the way that I hope to be living at? And then slowly trying to adapt little changes, even if they're the smallest thing, into starting to act out the way that that version of yourself is living.
Yes, you're making me think of Jake's, reach out for help too, because one conversation, just helping someone into the present moment and talking it through can be huge, like life-changing conversation. I love that. So a version of this for me, you guys, is like, I kind of love to talk to myself a little bit. I notice I'm in overwhelm because things start to spin a little bit. So I'll say, Laura, remember you have feet, girl. Like literally come on down out of your head, neck, and shoulders. Remember you have feet. Where are they? Can you put them on the ground? Can you bring your energy down, literally into your body, center and ground, and breathe? I'll add the breathing, right? One deep breath is magical sometimes too. And if you guys are, feeling the overwhelm lately, gosh, there's a lot of reasons to feel that right now in the world. We have a lot of amazing support in this community. I'm going to talk about it in a couple of minutes, but you're not alone. So, Jake, you are going to start this question off for us. What's the most important thing you want people to know about finding their voice?
I think the biggest thing with that is One way to find your voice is to really sit back and listen. That's one thing I've learned as I've started this podcast journey is listening to others and just being able to sit back and listen. Not, sometimes as a host, I think you kind of worry about, I got to make sure I have another question or I got to be ready for the next moment of the podcast, but actually just sit and listening has been huge. And the other thing too, I think, is when you're in that moment and you're struggling a little bit and you need help, be a help to others, reach out to others and be a help to them. Send a thank you note to somebody, send just a, hey, how you doing text to somebody. Those are big things for me.
That one is one of my favorite all-time tools for getting myself out of a funk. I have a desk where I have thank you notes and cards and things. And I sit my butt down and I think about someone to thank, or I think about someone who needs a hello and a little support. And I just move it away from myself and, how can I serve? This is so powerful.
Big time.
Yeah.
I agree.
You can shift
Absolutely.
it in 2 minutes. So I love it. I love that one. All right. So Jessica, what's the most important thing you want people to know about self-transformation?
That it's really about taking a look at yourself. You have to, like I said, look in the mirror and look at the things in which you want to change, and then be brave enough and have faith in yourself and in the universe that change can happen. It is a lot of that self-talk and redirecting, but that anything is possible. And when that starts to happen, that the way that the universe, when you start giving momentum to your change, how the universe starts to conspire with you to help you go forward.
I love remembering that the universe has my back. And you're talking about kind of getting in alignment with that, which I love. Yes, it is also a daily. I think we need to have these tools put into a daily practice. I don't know about you guys, but like I need to put them on sticky notes in front of my face all day long. I'm reminding myself, no, you need to come on in, right?
Write it on my mirror.
Exactly. Yes. Somebody was joking with me the other day and was talking about the shower board that evidently you can get so that when your messages come through in the water, you can get it down really, Yeah, I love it. All right, Carrie, you're going to close us out today with this one for you. What's the most important thing you want people to know about reframing the in-between?
Setting your intention. Like, be very intentional, be very mindful in the moment, whether it be with a person that you need to speak to that's a hard conversation or a work situation, whatever you are doing, have an intention going into it, because that changes your energy, right? Going into that space, how you want to feel. It may not go exactly how you want it to, but if you've set that space, that boundary ahead of time, it can change everything.
Yes, yes, it can. To all three of you, thank you so much for what you do in the world. And thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. Your chapters are gifts. I'm so, so excited about this Sacred Spaces volume. This is an award-winning series, you guys, from our lead author, Colleen Avis, but it's expert co-authors like Jessica and Carrie and Jake today that make it what it is. And it's fantastic. This is way more than a book. This is a generous community. Maybe you heard something today that gave you the goosebumps, or maybe you have a question or you need support. Drop down into the show notes because I have everybody hooked up with their links, their websites. Go explore all the amazing things these authors are up to. They're there for you to answer those questions, take you on that next step of the journey, right? I hope you all do that. We really would love it if you would hop over to Amazon today and grab your copy of this beautiful book. The Amazon link is below. And also remember, if you would like to join us for the book launch party, that's going to be February 21st, 10 a.m. So if you're listening in time, I've got the Zoom link the information down below, and you can come rub elbows with all of our co-authors. Lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.